She gave them his name. She told them where she'd been. She showed them the injuries, and the officer wrote it down, closed his notebook, and did nothing. That was 1997. Robert Pickton would continue killing for 5 more years. To understand what happened on Pickton's farm, you first have to understand the neighborhood police weren't paying attention to. The downtown Eastside of Vancouver. In the 1990s, one of the most impoverished urban neighborhoods in Canada, a place where the opioid crisis hit decades before the rest of the country admitted it existed. Women started disappearing from this neighborhood in the late 1970s. By the early 1990s, the numbers were undeniable. Friends noticed. Families filed reports. Advocates marched to the police station with lists, and for years, no task force, no coordinated investigation, no urgency, because the women disappearing were not the women the system had been built to protect. And 40 kilometers away, on a pig farm in Port Coquitlam, Robert Pickton was watching the news. Robert Pickton was born in 1949 and raised on a pig farm in Port Coquitlam, British Columbia. Neighbors described him as odd, awkward, simple. But here's what people got wrong about Robert Pickton. He was not stupid. He had hallmarks of predatory intelligence, the ability to identify vulnerability, to build just enough trust, and to operate for decades without triggering alarm. He also had something predators rarely get, a location that was essentially invisible. A 17-acre farm with outbuildings. In the early 1990s, Pickton and his brother began hosting parties on the property. Piggy's Palace, they called it, an illegal banquet hall that drew hundreds of guests, including, according to later testimony, off-duty police officers. And when women started dying there, no one came looking. And when women started dying there, no one came looking. Let it sit. Here is where this story stops being just about a killer and becomes about a system. Because Robert Pickton was reported to police. Morning 1, 1997. A woman escaped from Pickton's farm. She had been stabbed. She named him. Charges were laid. And then the Crown stayed the charges, citing concerns about the reliability of the witness. A witness whose reliability was questioned. Morning 2, 1998. Detective Laurie Shenner of the Vancouver Police Department had been assigned to the missing women file. She built a list. She identified patterns. She developed Robert Pickton as a suspect. She sent her findings up the chain and was told, not enough to act on. Warning 3, 1999. A police informant told the RCMP that Pickton was killing women and disposing of bodies on the farm. No search warrant followed. By 1999, at least a dozen women were missing. And the reason police finally showed up at that farm? Illegal firearms. Not the women. Guns. Police executed a search warrant on the Pickton farm in February 2002. What followed was one of the largest forensic investigations in Canadian history. 3 years. Over 600 investigators and staff. The property excavated layer by layer. The remains of 33 women were identified. Pickton told an undercover officer the number was 49. He was convicted in 2007 on 6 counts of second-degree murder. He is serving a life sentence at Kent Institution in British Columbia. The Missing Women Commission of Inquiry, led by Commissioner Wally Opal, released its findings in 2012. It concluded the investigation had blatantly failed the victims. In 2019, the National Inquiry into Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls concluded that what Indigenous women in Canada have experienced constitutes genocide. The Pickton case is not an anomaly. It is a case study in what happens when a system decides, consciously or not, that some lives matter less. The Pickton case forces us to ask a question that's genuinely uncomfortable. Who does the justice system work for? And the answer, at least in this case, was clearly not the women. The least we can do is remember their names. Please don't forget to subscribe for more.